the life before principles. Well, there's a lot to say about that. Let's just say that. I'm going to begin by saying, there's three areas of topic that usually spur conversation for me. And this one spurred the red thread. And so I had an experience with coaching prior to coming to the principles. Yet my journey began in an experiential park, which was in Joshua Tree, California, which is the beautiful desert. And I had just come off, almost 20 hours a day supporting up to 500 people in an outdoor camp. Now, just to give you the understanding, they do these scenarios where they put large groups of people in with experienced masters of a specific skill. Let's say outdoor hiking, hunting, rope climbing, jumping, things like that. And you go in not knowing what the experience is, and you support the room of everybody learning what's going to happen. The unexpected is what's often coming up. And so we were driving home from this thing that I had been volunteering for a few years, and the unexpected happened. I was flat out. I was exhausted. We had been up till 1:30 packing down the experience. And we were driving through the desert, and it was about 4 o'clock and the sun was setting. And that feeling where you're just like in the zone. And my girlfriend was beside me and she was driving, and she goes, "Why don't we just listen to a podcast?" And I said, "Great." And I just kicked back my feet, and the scenario was that the sky was coming down and the rolling tundra hills, that dry grass. And there we were. And she just pressed go. And it was Michael Neill. Now, for those of you who might not know Michael Neill is originals, first gens, if you will, of the principles. And he was speaking a story. And so I was watching the sun go down and sitting as a passenger, it was like this, the car, this is how it was going through the desert. And Michael started to tell a story. And it was a captivating story about an actor who had got so deep into the role of his acting for this particular movie. And some of you might even know this story. I don't know how far it goes back, but for me, it was brand new. And I felt like I was in the story. As I'm rolling along in the car, watching the mountains in the desert, there I was falling into the story about the movie of the mind. And I got so captivated by that story that I didn't even know where I was. Like I don't know where I was. I was just in the moment. And we started listening to this place where we ourselves, I myself, make up a story in my head about something that isn't real, about something that is imaginary, but feels so real to me that I'm actually living it. And he told the story about this actor, and the actor was playing a role in a war movie. And sorry, I just forget who it was now. Anyways, the actor was getting very, very involved in this, where he started to have physical feelings around it, loss of breath, exhaustion. And his wife kept seeing him come home like flat out and shattered. And she kept saying, "It's only a movie. It's only a movie." And he would go back to the role and play it as fully as he could. And Michael would tell the story where he finally ended up in the hospital and had a heart attack, a slight heart attack. And when he woke up, he saw his wife beside him. And she said, "It was only a movie. It was only acting." And in the car at that moment, I woke up to the movie of my own life. And the sky seemed brilliant. And the scenario that I was in was beside my girlfriend, having done all this supportive work, and realizing I've been acting my whole life. I've been acting out whether I was good enough. I've been acting out whether I could make it. Are you gonna like me? Are you gonna be? And that was sort of the beginning of the end. In other words, life before Michael Neal moment was the red thread of my thinking, believing I wasn't good enough. And I grew up in a beautiful home with beautiful parents and siblings and everything, and yet we had precarious circumstances that led me to deep thinking of not being good enough, deep thinking of that I just didn't quite cut it. And, I don't know whether it was me losing my identity in my own thoughts, where middle child syndrome, people can label anything that they want, but it was just me growing up with a real loss of understanding of who I was. And so I would go out in the world attaching myself to things. Oh, I guess I'm that. I must be that. And then I might go over here and attach myself to something else. And so thus the red system that I had began. And I began following that system very deeply and with a perfectionist mind to get it right. I'm going to get it right. And in that space, I grew up, as I said, and my family went through a divorce, and we suddenly and abruptly moved to British Columbia. And I lived in Toronto prior to that. And so yet again, my identity was being challenged with the fact that, I'm now needing to myself, the reinvent, recreate, because all those friends and family are gone. So now here we are again. And that was also fun and interesting because I changed my name and added an E to my name because I thought that was cool at 12 years old because my sister did it. My big sister was doing it, so I needed to do it, right? And so then there was that. And then there was also, I wanted people to like me and be and so how can I recreate myself? And so I fell into a lot of thinking, which created some problems in my life, some havoc. And I fell into eating disorder, which took away a lot of my self-esteem and confidence. And when I found some recovery with that, I fell into a great job. And of course, that place where, doing it right, that was working for me. That was it was an Irish tradition in our family. We no silver platters, get out there, do it. And so I had really great success. I had 2 schools of my own, and I taught, and I was feeling really good about what I was doing, and I was running to the speed of Kelly all day long. Literally go, go, go from the morning and then fall flat to my face in the evening. And the red thread that carried me was that I got to get it right. I got to do it right. Got to get going. Got to get. And so speed through to, recovery and some peace of mind around the eating and relationships and all these things. And my trouble thinking wasn't far away from me, although the success was kind of where I put my focus, and that's what I thought was important. I thought that's what we were here to do, to be successful, work really hard and get it. And so fast forward to 2015, where I came to a place that I wanted to see something different. I was having a beautiful spiritual experience, and I really wanted something different, and I didn't know what that was. And so I decided to do a drastic move, which wasn't unlike me necessarily, and leave my career. And so I began 2015, and I started to look at all the ways that I could support people. So having been a teacher and teaching hairdressing, I was always listening. But I was listening to be getting it right. So how do you want it? What's the way it's going to be? What are you going to do? And I was teaching, to get it right, to have them get it, to have them see it, And that push, that feeling of push was still, again, the red thread that I believed was my own, which was really not. Yet it was working for me. If I pushed hard enough, somebody's going to get it, even though, so these people could quit, those 2 will get it and they'll go on to do. And I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it wasn't working. School, and I started to open my mind because it took a lot more of me at an older age to be in school. So having the reading in front of me again and really investing myself in those moments to really see what was on the pages. And so my first investment was in a coaching school that was online, and I did that for a year. And it was more of the law of attraction style coaching and more of the metaphysical and that Michael Neal. And that led me to Jamie Smart. And that led me to, some of you might investing know Jamie Smart's Clarity Pro. And I joined Clarity Pro, and that gave me Jamie has a pool of resources that once you sign on, they just flood your index or your, and it was like, whoa. And I decided, I guess I was listening deep enough and had got invested with some SID and then Erickson College International. And I had done enough work with the principals that the college was seeing me. And let's just say that they were seeing me. And I was employed by the college. And for 4 years, I supported that college with some of my teacher background, and also with SID and the message of the understanding. And I was looking for the ways of like, how can I overlap that here? What can wisdom say about this? And I was in a college that was solution-focused, strategic corporate coaching. Okay. And to me, I was like anything. I was like, I always was. I can do this. I can map this. I can make this work. I can think my way into a strategy and solution that will map these two together. Needless to say, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And so resources, because I really felt the pull for that deep, centered space that the principals was giving me. And over on the business side, I was still executing, but what I was feeling was this thought pattern of not good enough. I just wasn't feeling good enough in these rooms, and I didn't know that was me. I didn't know it was on me. I didn't realize I was the not good enough planner, and that not good enough stuff was on me. And so I started to settle down a little bit and see that line that Elsie will always say, thought creates feeling. And somewhere in my experience, that just fell deeply into me, and I realized, oh, it's not them. It's not that. And as I was working for the college, I realized that I was creating these experiences. And I remember, having this deeply perfectionist mode running, which was one of my red thread experiences. And I realized that I was in some not combative, but really challenging circumstances with one of my instructors. And I was assistant for the day. And what happened was we just weren't connecting. And I was trying my hardest, to get everything up on the walls exactly the way she would want, and, make sure all the students were taken care of. And she was not liking it. And so I remember having a moment, that insightful moment, that at the time I didn't know it was the principals doing what they do. And I was at a beautiful hotel that we often worked at here in Vancouver, and I walked out on the beautiful boardwalk, which was surrounded by exotic yachts and right on a marina. And I looked to these yachts, and I looked to the sea, which is the ocean right outside the door, and I just said, what am I to do now? If there's an answer, please give it to me. Because I thought right in that moment I was quitting. I was going to just quit and leave. And I just got really still. And the insight came. And the insight said, absolutely clearly, put some love on it. And of course I was like, I was aback. I was just like, and then it hit me. And when that feeling comes and it's almost like there's no stopping it. The tears started to flood. The peaceful moment came, and I was still. I was just still in that moment, and I realized that was everything I was looking for. And in that moment, that began the new understanding of what red thread is. And I began weaving that in that very moment. And I walked straight into the room, and I walked over to that instructor, and I held her hands, and I said, I absolutely honor you and respect you and think she is an amazing instructor. And I said, I love you and I want to do this together. And in the 4 years that I had worked for that company, they were often wanting me to go other areas. They wanted me to work in other areas because the Vancouver arena was full of master coaches that could do that job. And they were sending me to China, and they were sending me to other places where I could execute coaching, but just not here. And when I began the plight there, I said, I want to coach in Vancouver. I want to teach in Vancouver. And in that very moment, she turned to me and she said, would you like to train the last half of the class tomorrow? Which would be the closing of the class. And that was the first moment that anyone truly saw me. And I thought, I knew then that that red thread of the principles had just taken me. And that was the last time I trained for that course. And the very next thing that happened was the company offered me a China contract. And it happened to land on the same day that the principal's little school on Salt Spring was. And I had already signed up for the little school. So I knew the answer to that question was no. And of course I thought, this is really putting my job on the line. But I knew with all my body that I was going to the little school. And so I took myself to the little school with that little insight and that little bit of understanding. And of course, I might have come like a lot of people come to Salt Spring. If you've read the book Beyond Beliefs, they mention about how a lot of people come to Salt Spring looking to see, and many go away seeing all that they already know. And I came looking to see in my, what I call speed of Kelly, living the life of the speed of Kelly. And I was very busy and I was wanting them to get on with the going, let's get the data, let's get everything going. And in that weekend, I realized that I was moving to the speed of Kelly. I didn't know anything about the speed of love. Because what I witnessed on the dock at that beautiful hotel that was a moment of love. And I hadn't felt those moments for a very long time. And so the pre-life before was very busy, very sped up, very much in my thinking, and very much full of how to get it right, and not good enough, and keep going because you're going to get it. And so after the principles came. But what happened was the red thread created a new understanding for me in my heart, where I got to see that slowing down to the speed of love, as Joe Bailey so graciously, shared me that mantra, was the way for me to see wisdom at its best, my wisdom, which, by the way, I thought I never had because I always looked to everybody else. I didn't have wisdom. Everybody else did, but I didn't have any. And so I needed you to tell me, right? I needed everyone to tell me.